Thank you, Dilip, for your remarks. I was straining my ears very carefully to figure out if I could contradict him in any one places. I do agree with much of what he said. You know, he's talked about criminals with an accreditation card. You know, it's good. It's a good, very good phrase. I'm going to use it and I'll attribute it to you. Intellectual property rights are his. You know, journalists often have been talking about the criminalization of politics. You know, it's important to talk about the criminalization of the media as well. Yes, we have at least two eminent heads of television channels who've spent some time behind bars. So I think it's a good time to talk about the criminalization of the media, and thank you so much. A lot of people have been asking us the title of this book. I mean, Subir and I met thanks to a friend of ours called Annie, but Annie is a male. Annie is a short form of Aniruddha Bhattacharya. And Annie suggested this name, and then people asking, who is this woman? Oh no, I think no, actually he is also a man. So the last two speakers are Sue as in Sunita, and then Sue as in Subir. So I'm going to first request Sunita, and we have an entire chapter in this book which talks about an organization called the Crop Care Federation of India, and it's headed by a gentleman called Mr. Raju Shroff. And as the person who's been at the helm, the Director General of the Center for Science and Environment and editor of the fortnightly magazine Down to Earth, Sunita has personally faced the wrath of this gentleman and the Crop Care Federation of India. And there are a couple of other organizations about which I'm sure she will be able to tell us more about, and they're certainly there in the book. She's been a writer and environmental activist. She's been with the Center for Science and Environment from 1982 onwards. In 2005 she got the Padma Shri, and she's also received the World Water Prize for work on rainwater. You see her very active these days, talking about all that's going wrong. Her organization has been in the forefront of a number of movements and raising awareness. In 2005, she chaired the Tiger Task Force at the direction of the Prime Minister to evolve an action plan for conservation in the country after there were many tigers lost their lives in Sariska. She's also been a member of the Prime Minister's Council for Climate Change as well as the National Ganga River Basin Authority. Are you still there? Umaji, former. Okay, Umaji hasn't continued her there. But she writes and researches about how the environment must become the basis for livelihood security of the people of this country, and she's been linked with many issues of local democracy, global democracy, and argued from every possible platform how the human being has an entitlement to the global atmospheric commons. So I'm going to request Sunita to speak now.
Thank you, Paranjoy. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a public relations manager. I can only tell you how we have seen the world evolving over the last some years when it comes to activism. And it is very clear that there is going to be greater threats on free speech. But the question is where it's going to come from. And I think that is something that we need to become more and more clear about. But firstly, Paranjoy and Subir, thank you so much for putting this together. I think it's very important because I was just thinking, I would, we've gone through this, but we have never written about it. I've written about it sporadically as editorials, and, when things happen, you write, but we've never put the big picture together. We've never put together the kind of threats that are happening and how SLAP as a tool is becoming a tool to stop dissent. And I think it has been very important that you have put this together because it will be a warning to many others, and it will help people to know that they will be shamed if they do this. And I think the shame of this is going to be much more important than the legal deterrence that we will talk about. CSE got its first defamation suit way back on an issue that I'm going to be in court on Monday. Okay. I was just thinking, oh, we have a good lawyer, but no, we are not in a defamation suit right now, but it was way back that the Tata sent us the first defamation suit. I'd never even known what a defamation suit was about. When we got 100 crore defamation suit for an article that was published in the Business Standard. As you know, Nainan is an amazing editor, and he tends to like what we write, and he's over the years published things. And it was published as an article. At that stage, we just started our campaign on the right to clean air. And everyone across the world was talking about the fact that we are now getting worried about diesel, because diesel vehicles emit a fine particle, and that was the first time the world was talking about PM 2.5, something that we have become so used to now that we probably have got bored with the fact that there's this thing called PM 2.5. But at that stage, first time PM 2.5 was being discussed, and there was WHO report that said diesel is a likely carcinogen. We wrote an article, and the newspaper at that stage published a photograph of a car, and it happened to be a Sumo, I think, which is made by the Tatas, which gave them a chance to file this 100 crore defamation suit against both the paper as well as Anil and me. And it was wonderful. I mean, for us, it was fantastic that the suit was filed, I have to say. Because, and as we wrote back to the Tatas, we said that we get, Mr. Nariman will know this, free pro bono advice. We don't even have to pay for a really good lawyer. We only have to pay for the price of a postage stamp. At that time, we did have to post a postage stamp, but that, as far as the Tatas were concerned, they would have to engage a very, very senior lawyer and have to deal with it. And we were right, and that we were not going to back down on the issue of diesel as a pollutant, and that, you know, we did a press conference and we got huge publicity out of it. It was, and the Tatas being Tatas, they actually withdrew the defamation suit within a day. So it was decently done. They wrote back saying they never meant to harm us, and that was fine. That was the first experience, and it was an experience which taught us that obviously there is this tool called defamation, but we never saw it being exercised. But it's the decade of 2000 that we saw it come down with a vengeance. And then we really saw what slap could really mean, what a strategic lawsuit against public participation could mean, and how it would actually shut up voices. And that came with the whole issue of when we did the testing of pesticides, first in colas, and then of course we had tested, most importantly, for the blood of people in a small village in Kerala called Padre. And there we found very high levels of endosulfan, a pesticide, in the blood, the food, the soil of those villages. And we could relate it to the huge deformities that you were seeing in the village. And so there was a cause and an effect relationship. And that obviously hurts industry tremendously when you can prove that something that they have done has actually had harmed people. The first time when the cola issue came, we learnt about slap, because that's the first time when Pepsi or Coca-Cola, I don't remember which one, filed in the High Court, and they actually filed a slap suit. And we called it a slap suit. And again, as I say, and I think that's why Paranjoy and Subir, it's good you wrote this, because I think shame is more important than anything else. And the fact that it was called slap suit, the fact that it was discussed openly in the High Court, that suit was also withdrawn. And it was agreed upon that they will not pursue a case which is in the nature of slap. But the fact is that that happens when it comes to some big corporations, but there is a more insidious kind of cases that go on. I mean, when I'm standing in front of you right now, I'm on a non-bailable warrant because a year ago, in front of my office, some policemen turned up with a notice saying that I needed to be taken to jail, and that I had not appeared in front of some court in Vapi. Now the fact is, we never got a legal notice from them. We never knew what the suit was, but they had the ability to send policemen to our office to arrest us. I mean, the good thing is, again, in Delhi, the police know us. They told us, listen, we have this notice, but we really like the work you do. We think you should not get arrested. So why don't you just tell us you didn't meet us for a few days and just sort it out, and then, you know. And we did. We got it squashed in the High Court, but I'm still on non-bailable warrant right now, because unless it gets squashed, it doesn't get squashed. But it's not about us. It's about this huge community of people who face these suits. On the issue of pesticide, what we have found with Crop Care Federation or International, whatever the gentleman calls himself, is the fact that he goes after individuals. Now, if you look at how he targets scientists, and what I find very interesting, it's invariably women scientists. And he shuts them up, and he always targets them after they have retired from government jobs. So it's a very carefully planned way of doing so. So here was a woman scientist who worked in the same village. She worked in an ICMR institution based in Gujarat. She had gone to the same village, done a full study, and had obviously found that the pesticide was there, that it was causing harm to people. The Crop Care Federation waited till she retired from government service to file a huge defamation case against her. And that makes her so vulnerable. And that really has meant, and we have seen that, my colleague Chandrabhushan is here, we've seen that again and again. And every time it has meant today, literally today, I believe, there is no research happening on pesticides in India. This company has been able to shut people up, because also it has won cases against everyone. It has won cases against Greenpeace, won cases against Maneka Gandhi, won cases against everyone, just goes after them, threatens them. Somewhere or the other people crack. Now, we have a criminal defamation going on in the lower courts in Delhi. We have a criminal case going on in Mumbai. He's filed something else in Vapi. He's not been able to get us yet. But it's also, and that's really where I want to talk about, it's about them being able to get us. Because at the end of the day, if we fall, a lot more falls. And that has become a huge onus on us to say, we cannot lose. Because if one of us actually loses a case like this, if we get our facts wrong, if we are in any way vulnerable, whether we are vulnerable in terms of being able to come under pressure, whether we are vulnerable because we cannot get legal help, whether we are vulnerable because we just didn't do our homework, we don't only lose. The huge amount of work that many people are doing actually suffers. And I think that's the self-regulation that Dilip was talking about, that Karuna was talking about, needs to come in, because I know in our world, if one of us falls, all of us fall. Because this gentleman has been able to use the cases that he has won against everyone to threaten and stop many others, but also, and to silence many, but also to be able to put pressure on people like us to say, you know, you're also going to fall. And it stops work. And I have seen that in the area of pesticide. It actually stops people to do serious good work because they fear the threat of being sued. And so SLAP has been used effectively in India. And it worries me tremendously. We are large institutions, we can weather the storm, we can fight, but there are many individuals, and that's why SLAPP was created in the US. It's strategic lawsuit against public participation. You read the manual for SLAPP as I did. It is essentially a manual written by evil corporations to go after individuals. It goes after the most vulnerable individuals, invariably a housewife, a mother, an individual activist. It doesn't go after even institutions. And I think that's something we need to be able to fight, and I think this book will help us to say, if you do that, you will be shamed. The final point really is that we've also seen this nature of SLAPP change. And what worries me more, Dilip, today is not the crude slap, but it's actually the much more pervasive control that the corporations have over the decision-making processes today, which invariably become as much a question about limiting free speech, but it's not seen like that. It's to be extremely sexist, and please allow me because I'm a woman, but it's invariably the women in mini skirts which get used to make sure that the corporations can get their work done and their voice heard within different committees. That really, really, really bother us, because we are finding that is stopping voices from being heard, that's stopping policy from being informed, and that's definitely making the corporations far more powerful today than they were in the past. And I think this new form of the takeover of the public space needs to be as much contested. And I think Paranjoy and Subir, that has to be your next book. Thank you very much.